Today, we'll find out if the Force is truly with us.
Discussion time.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. Episode 2 of Spotocast. This is exciting stuff. Are you excited, Tyler? I'm excited. Are you?
I'm pretty excited.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Before we get started and everything like that, we just wanted to make sure everyone knows that this is not in like any kind of sequential order. So if you start with this episode, that's perfectly fine. But be sure to check out any podcast episode you might have missed because there's amazing content and you don't want to miss a single thing. Don't want to miss a thing. Sorry. I apologize for my bad singing. Also, before we get going, Tyler, do me the favor of issuing the formal spoiler warning in your best movie voice.
Oh my. If you haven't seen this movie, then get ready, because we're about to spoil it.
It's in theaters this summer. Coming soon now. Two brothers.
Coming soon now. Yeah.
All right, yeah. So spoiler warning, obviously. If you have not seen The Rise of Skywalker, I highly recommend that you do not listen to this because we are going to be talking in depth about our favorite parts.
Yes, we are.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes of everything, as always, feel free to head over to Instagram at SpotOGaming, SpotOGaming, for everything gaming-related news, anything that Tyler and I are doing, anything, stream schedule, I don't even know, anything, everything. It's there, all on Instagram. And then, as always, Patreon details will be at the end of the podcast if you want to support us in more ways than just one. We always appreciate you.
Indeed.
All right, Tyler, I think it's time. Meat and potatoes. You got your fork and knife ready?
I do.
All right. So, The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
The end. Just kidding. Okay.
The
end. Tyler, in my opinion, and I want to bounce this off of you, my opinion, the most exciting part of this entire movie was when they released the trailer and it had Palpatine's laugh. I was anticipating the return of Emperor Palpatine since that trailer. And that was in, like, what, February?
Oh, yeah, man.
Something like that?
I remember, actually, you and I talking about that, because...
yeah.
You were like, dude, did you hear it? Did you hear it? And
you said, that's
like,
not Palpatine. You said, no way, no. No, posh.
I was like, how would they bring back Palpatine? Like, how could that... it wasn't like condescending or anything, but it was like, how in the world could they do that? I mean, but it's understandable given the dark and mysterious ways of the Sith.
I know, right? It's unnatural. But people like started freaking out on the internet. I remember like people were like, "Oh my God, is that Palpatine?" Or "It can't be Palpatine." No. Like I remember all the discussion videos, everything. It was just so cool to see people freaking out and just being happy over something because there was a lot of divide in The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
and whether you like it or not is a moot point. But it just means that like the fandom was divided. So they had to pull out all the strings. And honestly, my opinion of the movie was that it was a very strong entry into the Star Wars saga, you know? It was a very, very nice and almost like a love letter, like I mentioned, like with Fallen Order in the last episode. It's a love letter to the fans, you know? It was a good movie. Of course, it had its faults and everything like that. You can't really, you know, judge it based off of it having its faults. But overall, we have some pretty cool favorite parts of the movie to discuss.
Yeah,
ain't that right?
Yeah, we do. I was gonna say one more thing about that, my love letter thing, real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Interestingly enough, Disney actually did polls and like focus groups and asked people what you want to see in this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So quite literally, like again, like it's another love letter to the fans.
I feel like this year 2019, or I should say last year, because it is 2020 now, was a way of remedying any kind of spoiled feelings, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that they are going on the right direction now, and I don't think it needs to be apologetic anymore, because it's almost apologetic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Now I think that they've removed any kind of toxins in the relationship and stuff like that. I mean, people are still divided on it. But it's not nearly as bad as Last Jedi.
Yeah, people are divided on it, but I can tell you one thing people are all together on, and that's Baby Yoda.
That's so true. We'll have a whole another podcast just talking about The Mandalorian, for sure. You can anticipate that, guys. All right, so let's get into our favorite parts of the movie. Would you like to kick it off and do the honors, Tyler?
Sure. Well, that opening scene with Kylo.
Oh my God, yeah.
He was getting shit done, you know?
He was. He really was.
You could actually see a little bit of the...
He really was.
Yeah, like his influence of Vader there, the way he just would storm in and just, like, absolutely, you know...
And he flew up on Exegol and just, like... His lightsaber just
walks out,
and I'm like
he owned.
And the lightning is going. He's not afraid at all. Oh my gosh, that was so cool.
That was really cool.
And then when the lightning flashes over Palpatine's face for the first time, oh my gosh, he said, "The dark side leads to many beliefs that people think are unnatural." And I may be misquoting that like a little bit, but don't judge me. But I'm like, I was like, oh my God, he's here. Oh my gosh, I was so happy when Ian McDermott like said he was gonna be back. It was so crazy. Excellent. It was so crazy. I was like, oh my God, it's your boy. Like right now, you guys obviously can't see where I'm at and everything like that, but in my room, the recording area that I'm in right now, I have a bunch of Funko Pops. I'm a huge Funko Pop collector, and at the very top of my Star Wars collection is Palpatine, because he is the Senate. He is the Senate. He will always be the Senate.
I am the Senate.
I am the Senate. No, no, no.
Oh, man.
But, you know, that initial scene, they couldn't have started it better. No. It was fast-paced. And, I mean, also, let's just take a moment to appreciate the fact that they went back to Mustafar, too, for the Sith Wayfinder. Because many people didn't realize that was Mustafar. The whole planet isn't lava covered and everything like that. I mean, it's a lava planet, sure. But there are trees and stuff like that, and there are people living on it. So it is habitable. But a lot of people miss that it was actually Mustafar. So, I mean, there's so many different like references to both the prequels and the original trilogy.
Well, it makes sense, though, because like volcanic soil is really habitable.
Fertile. Yeah, it is. It really is.
It's really cool. They did it.
Also, him cutting down all those people with his like, you know, busted up crystal lightsaber. It's like, it's so the first time I saw that, I was like, man, that has to be something about that like gives it that sparkly, like sparkly is a bad word, crackling, that's the bad word. And like it turns out, you know, that he had actually a cracked kyber crystal in there, you know, and that's why it was like so unnatural looking, you know. So I just think that was like the best, because I mean it matched his emotion set perfectly, Kylo Ren, you know. It was very, very conflicted, and, you know, it wasn't fully committed to the dark side, you know.
I'm going to say one thing about that saber, though. Something interesting, right?
Yeah.
I was watching some interviews with Ian McGregor, and he was saying didn't matter how good these people were at, like, lightsaber battles. Like, you were going to get hit in the hand. Like, it was going to slide down the hit, you know, and go down the hilt and hit you in the hands. And I had heard rumors that one of the reasons that Kylo's saber was like that, the actor wanted the hand guard there, because
the cross guard.
Yeah, that was actually an aesthetic design by him, supposedly.
Yeah, and now it's written into the canon, like the cross guard was actually like a thing, which is crazy.
Like an old Sith Lord thing. So cool.
They had it in the Jedi Order too. If you watched Rebels, there's a cross guarded lightsaber in there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. It's green. But so it was popular, but in the old Sith Wars and stuff like that, because like you said, losing a appendage was definitely part of that, but also the actors, getting hurt. That's also another thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, we could talk about that forever. Moving on to the next point that I thought was just absolutely incredible. The return of Lando. That what was that planet's name again? I can't remember off the top of my head. The one with the festival.
The festival planet. That's what I'm calling.
I can't remember the name of it. We'll call it that for right now. But Lando returning was just such a happy scene for me. It was Lando was one of my favorite characters. Because Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie. So it's seeing Lando again really brought back warm memories of such a great movie. It was back in a time. Yeah, he really was. It was back in a time where Star Wars was still new and everything like that. And when I was really young, obviously I wasn't born whenever it was out in theaters and stuff like that. But I grew up on Star Wars. So, I mean, my dad waited like a long time in between the movies because he said, I had to wait, so you have to wait. You can't just watch them all in order. Yeah, it was really funny. And then when the prequels came out, obviously we went to the theaters and we waited and stuff like that for he made me wait a couple months before watching the next original trilogy movie because he wanted me to sink in the ideas and think about it, rewatch it a couple times,
Truly.
But I grew up on it. Yeah, exactly. But seeing Lando was really nostalgic for me. And then pairing that, the chase scene was probably one of the most well done chase scenes when the stormtroopers turned into jet troopers. They fly now. They fly now. I was like, oh my god, what a nice call to Battlefront.
Well, I always wondered what happened to all of the freaking jet troopers. And it was did they just lose all of the jetpacks in the galaxy?
For sure. I mean, it was just so cool. You don't really normally see that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's in expanded universe and in Legends and stuff like that. I mean, now it's actually written into the canon that stormtroopers were able to fly, just like the Mandalorians and the clone troopers. So I mean, it was just cool to see. It was a really cool nod to those of us who watch the extra media and read the comic books and things like that. So I just thought that was a really neat little, nod in the right direction. All right, next point, Tyler. What you got?
Oh, that was the return to the Endor system, the exploration of the Death Star ruins.
Yes.
Boy.
Oh my god. The Endor system also is another neat little nod,
Mm-hmm.
Even if it wasn't necessarily right back on, where the Ewoks were right then and there, because I mean we did get to see them, but it was such a cool nod when I heard Endor system and I saw the Death Star ruins in the trailer. I was like, oh my god, I'm so ready.
I liked that they expanded that system.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't just one moon,
It's just it was really cool. I don't know if it sounds cheesy or not, but it was really almost emotional to see all that, all the Death Star again. It was.
I know.
It's something that you only see normally in video games or something.
Yeah. And it was really well done too.
Yes.
When Rey comes up on the Emperor's throne, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It was just so surreal being back there.
And I at first I thought it was really interesting their battle on the Death Star there with Kylo and her, because I was like, is he there, or are they doing one of those force battle things? It's is that actually there? Because they can reach back and forth, and
That's
it's
true.
Actually,
I mean, obviously he was there, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, you didn't know whether or not he was just projecting himself there. Yeah. Also, that sequence inside of the Emperor's vault where you get to see Dark Rey and her, splitting lightsaber and stuff like that. I think she should have had the double-bladed lightsaber just in general because she, used the staff.
Yeah.
I think that should have just been written in. She should have built her own lightsaber that had the double-bladed one.
Mm-hmm.
And used it for the final battle. That would have been awesome. That's just something nitpicky that I would have liked to see because they trained her up with that staff idea.
Mm-hmm. But
it was cool getting to see it pan out.
We don't actually know how long she was training for with Leia, so she could have gotten some serious single-bladed skills in that time, and up to the point where it didn't make sense to have a double blade.
I don't think it was that long.
Yeah.
I don't. It's implied that it isn't that long. At least I think, anyway.
Hmm.
They've obviously established a new base and everything like that. So, I mean, there has to have been some time and stuff like that. But I don't think it was necessarily, like, super long because it didn't give off that vibe, in my opinion.
Yeah. It was like a short little, maybe a week or a few days, or I don't know. I would say a week at least.
I would say probably maybe half a year, because
half a year? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, because she looked like. I say this for two reasons. One, she's already in the training thing, and Leia is established as her master. That couldn't have just happened in a week, you know.
Yeah, that's very true.
The second thing is that in like Rebels and stuff like that, it took them a while to find a base, like on an habitable planet that's like not in a known system. So I mean, do what you can with what you got. You know, I'm gonna say, at most 6 months, maybe minimum a month.
I would be inclined to agree with you, honestly, because I was thinking that she'd like had been there for a decent while, because I mean she was doing all that stuff, like, you know, Luke, when he was like going about his daily business, it was like that same
it was a routine, like, you know?
Routine.
It was established. It didn't feel like it was just a new thing, you know. That's just the way I perceived it. I mean, obviously the data books and concept art books could say, you know, completely otherwise. You could be right. It could be a week. I don't know. That's just my opinion and what I thought was. Moving on to the next part. I thought that one of the first times in the movie that it was like really connecting with these new characters. Don't get me wrong. I've been connecting with the new characters. Excuse me. Hiccups. I've been connecting with these new characters after watching the movies for a couple of times. But it wasn't immediate, like in, you know, the original trilogy and then the prequels, where I really, really had like some kind of prior connection, because, you know, you knew who Obi-Wan Kenobi was by the time you were watching the prequels, you know. But I started connecting with the characters really, really on a deeper level at Ben Solo's revival. Where he's talking to his memory of his father, and I was actually getting a little choked up on that. I was like, you know, he's regretting what he did, and that's why that analogy with his lightsaber being the cracked crystal, he's not fully dedicated to the dark side. If you think about it, and this is actually kind of getting into the lore a little bit of the universe, so forgive me if I go off on a tangent. Darth Vader's lightsaber was, you know, he bled that crystal himself. He stole it from a Jedi and bled that crystal. That's canon. It's in the novel. His lightsaber was intact and the crystal was intact because he had nothing else to lose. He fully committed himself. You know, he was fully committed to the dark side. He was like, I'm down this path. This is what I'm doing. He didn't have anything else to lose, you know?
Yeah.
So Kylo always had reservations and fears and, you know, wasn't fully committed, in my opinion. I always saw the sway to the light side in him, you know? It was hard for him to kill Han Solo. It really was. Like, you know?
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, though, you know?
But you can see some of, like, his father in him, because, like, his father was sort of flighty with all that kind of stuff. Like, we need you. And it's like, I can't be here. I gotta go, you know? Like...
Also, another thing, you can see certain character traits, like, you know, whenever he has the blaster and he doesn't even look in Exegol and he just shoots the guard. Han Solo did that with a trooper, if you remember.
Yeah, I was about to say that. The similarities, like little nods they gave to like each other there. Funny thing though, when he was remembering his father there, on the Death Star, it's like, I had read somewhere that Harrison Ford did not want to be like all Force blued.
Well, yeah, because I mean he's not a Jedi. That wasn't a Force ghost. It was just a memory.
Yeah, but like my point is in saying that is they wanted him originally to have that, and he said
it wouldn't have made any sense.
He said no, I'm not being blued out.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't made any sense. He didn't have any formal Jedi training, and in the canon, it takes a lot to actually become a Force ghost.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have to give yourself to the Force. It has to be like willing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every instance we've had of a person becoming one with the Force was a willing decision, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not saying it's impossible, but, you know, because, you know, anyone
there was
can
a long
train to do it.
it.
There was. I just don't think that canonically it would have made sense for somebody who didn't have Jedi training to become one with the Force and become a Force ghost. I like to think that it was just him playing off of his emotions, and he's seeing his dad as like a, you know, a memory kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, that's how I felt about that scene. It was very emotional for me because I was like, you know,
didn't Han Solo say "I know"?
Yeah.
That's the same thing he said to
Leia. Yeah.
That's. I mean,
it's he's having a conversation with a person that he's lost and he's responsible for. So I mean, obviously, there's going to be some kind of like trauma there and everything like that. I thought it was executed well. I mean, a person with PTSD is going to experience something like that, you know, and he definitely was not so committed to the dark side that didn't affect him, because obviously it affected him, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at The Last Jedi, I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, they're looking at The Last Jedi. Demonetize, unsubscribe, unfollow." If you look at it, you know, he hesitated on pulling the trigger for, you know, whenever he was trying to attack his mom. You know, it actually wasn't him that blew up his mom. So, who knows? I don't know. He just wasn't fully committed to the dark side, in my opinion.
No.
And I don't want it. I just didn't want to, like, you know, make a reference and not back it up. The next thing, would you like to do the honors?
Yeah. Luke raising the X-Wing.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
And then there was Leia's lightsaber training. But let's like tackle these at a time here.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
There's a lot to talk about in each of these little nuggets.
Absolutely.
Boy,
go ahead.
That raising the X-Wing, to get to see Luke do it, you know, properly, was excellent.
I mean, because he goes, what a character arc. He goes from not believing in it to literally embodying the Force and then doing what his master did before him, you know?
Yeah.
And using that music, using that exact same track was such a brilliant call. Such a brilliant call.
Yes. That was definitely really, really cool.
that I was like, oh my gosh. My dad was when he was watching it with me, he was like, wait, is that the original music? Wait, yeah. And I was like, yeah, shh, let me listen to it. It was just so cool, you know. Like it or love it, Last Jedi, Luke had made his decision and was, you know, living with the fears and everything like that and the mistakes he has made and everything. So seeing him, whether or not you believe it was the directors apologizing for The Last Jedi, or if it was just it coming full circle and him realizing he was wrong to feel that way, I think that his character arc went from, you know, victory to loss and then back to victory again. He gained victory through the Force, you know, and I felt like, honestly, it was a rounded character arc, you know. He's not this all-powerful laser sword wielding thing, and then he comes to realize that, hey, maybe it is a little bit more powerful than you think, but it's not all powerful. But it is important, you know. It's a necessary part of the galaxy, and it's necessary for the balance of the Force, is what he came into understanding. And that him raising the X-Wing and doing the same thing Yoda did for him was a nod to him accepting, you know, it was coming full circle. That's just how I felt. I thought that was a really cool analogy towards that kind of, you know, character arc. What did you think?
Well, I honestly thought that Luke's character arc was very human.
It was very human.
It was a lot more human than most Jedis had been up to that point, because it was like you back in, you know, the days of the Order, like it was very
it was very robotic.
Yeah. And Luke was like this this young kid that learned to use the Force and to save his friends. That initially, that's what he used it for. It was him, like, learning to use the Force, and like he needed to go save his friends. That was the only reason he learned to use the Force. And
it was a call to action rather than him being destined to do it.
Yeah, and I think that was very cool when like they were talking about. He's like, the last thing he saw was a master who had given up hope, or like on his Padawan, and I was like, wow, that's really cool, because like he's not that all powerful, laser wielding.
I know exactly what you mean.
It's just and
it's so human.
Yeah.
And like people were upset about it because the Jedi are supposed to be like above human and stuff like that. But I think honestly, it was a true representation of what a human is capable of, And I mean, sure, they're force wielding, they have the laser sword and everything like that, but that doesn't mean they're invincible. They're still susceptible to getting their hands cut off,
No, and
their emotions being hurt.
It was really interesting that instead of like just cutting, I mean, he cut himself off from the Force, but he did it almost in a weird way, and it was like saying like, oh, well, it's arrogant to think that the Force will die if we die, because the Force is around us, and like that's true, but it doesn't mean you should lock yourself off from that. Like, you should still feel that and like embrace it. It was just, and like to have him raise it up again in the end, it was like, wow,
full circle, man.
Full circle.
Full circle. Regardless if you agree or disagree, you have to admit that was full circle.
Yeah.
He came back and he did what he said was impossible.
And it was almost like Yoda warned like this was going to happen, because he was like, I cannot train him. And he was like, this is why you fail, but like in the end, he succeeded.
Is why you fail. Yeah. Another point that coincides with this, the flashback to Leia's training and her wielding a lightsaber was also very cool.
So cool.
It's so gratifying to see, because everyone complained, oh, she has Force powers. Well, they paid it off. Come on, guys. They paid it off.
Man,
she actually received formal training.
I've known from a very young age she was like Force, because I remember walking through Books A Million in that Star Wars aisle, with all the canon books.
I remember.
And it's like, there's Leia with a lightsaber there. Look at that. She obviously uses Force power. Like, that was established to me at a very young age. And I don't understand why people, like, just because they're ignorant.
Yeah. That's also, until very recently, that was Legends. So it wasn't canonically explained until this movie like made it canon.
It was canon,
unless
and it is now. So.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But those are that's their argument if you want to see their side. Yeah. I mean, I think their side's dumb, but that's just my opinion.
A lot of books with her with a lightsaber, and for it to be like, no, it never happened. It's like, why is it over here? It says
no, it never happened. Never happened. All right. So yeah, that was just a really good sequence. Honestly, that was probably the best sequence out of the entire movie. That was probably my favorite thing.
Yeah, it was really cool to see both of them there.
They get a gold star for that. Gold star. You get a banana stick and a gold star from Spotocast. Call me JJ. Call me.
Call me JJ, baby.
Give me your address. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you now. The next point that really did something for me, and it was one of my favorite things, honestly, was Rey passing the lightsaber to Ben through the Force. They made that connection between them.
Yeah.
It actually paid off into them using it to their advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That was so freaking cool. I was like, and then he does that little bow. He does that bow shrug that Han Solo did too. Oh my gosh!
Like, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? I have a laser sword and Force powers. You guys got axes. You got axes and knives.
Well, they knew that was so cool. As soon as he had a sword, because it was like,
that's why he was the
guy that recruited us.
I'm sorry, he's the master of the Knights of Ren. Okay, he's the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
he Hannah Montana that.
Yeah.
I just thought that was so cool and so gratifying.
Really cool.
And then seeing him wield the blue lightsaber, the lightsaber that he wanted, and he was trying. He said that lightsaber belongs to me in The Force Awakens. It truly did, you know. He earned it. And like if you remember at the beginning of the film, Rey said, "I will earn his blade." He earned his blade, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He earned that. He didn't necessarily keep it, you know, for very long, but he earned the right to wield that blade, in my opinion. You know, the redemption is just like his grandfather. Redemption. That's what the right to wield that blade is. That's how I felt, and I felt like that was a very, very tried and true moment to that. You know, that was a very pivotal moment in his character arc. You got any thoughts to build off of that, or did I say it all?
I think you got it all on that one.
Man.
I think it was really good. Like I liked it all, every second of that part.
I know. And then this next point, I would like to hear your best Emperor Palpatine impression for this, please.
Unlimited power. That's
part 2. Unlimited power. When he shoots that lightning into the sky, oh my god! I was like, okay. It was like a Christmas tree of lightning.
I will say, I liked that part, but this is how I feel about it. I thought that was a little much, but I get that he's powerful.
He's the Senate. He's the Senate. He is the Sith. Okay.
But there's
calm down.
There's a difference between getting lightning to people and like the Death Star, and then like shooting down an untold number of ships from the sky
and missing all of his own.
Yeah. That
was a little bit much.
But it proved the point that he was powerful.
I mean, hey, if you think about it though, he had just stolen like a bunch of Force essence using the Sith Drain. So yeah. I mean, he was using borrowed power.
But 3 Jedi couldn't even do that. Like it's not Jedi power, so I guess 3 Sith couldn't even. But I don't know.
He is all the Sith.
He is all the Sith.
I am all of the Sith.
It was excellent to see like that flex. It's like weird flex, but okay. And then they proceed to smack him.
I like to also believe, like, I hope that the data books will, like, you know, explain this a little bit more. But I also think that since the Exegol was so powerful with the dark side, maybe he was pulling from the power of that lightning too.
That makes a lot of sense. If they were to say like, well, he was amplified by the extreme power of Exegol, like, you know
how they say that
would make sense.
Something is so attuned with the Force that Exegol was so attuned with the dark side. Yeah. You know. That's how I interpreted it.
All right,
all
right. I buy that.
And that's why it wasn't permanent. You know, it was just him borrowing power. But he had unlimited power. As unlimited power. Part 2. Oh man, that's just how I felt about that.
No. Now that you explained it, it makes sense. Maybe that will make sense to some other people too.
What are your opinions, listeners, viewers, listeners? Let us know at Spotto Gaming on Instagram.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next point, I kind of want to get to this point because I've been really thinking about it for a long time. I am all the Jedi equals I am Iron Man. Okay. Without spoiling too much for those of you who haven't seen Endgame, this was a very Endgame ending, you know. She pulls up that second lightsaber and crosses them together. That was so Infinity Gauntlet, you know. And he dusts away like the snap too. I mean, you know, pulled that Voldemort death, that Thanos half of the universe death, you know.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about like overlords like crumbling away. Ooh, crumble away. Like,
I mean, hey, I thought it was good. Hopefully he's gone for good. I don't want to I don't want him to die multiple times, you know. I don't want him to pull a Loki.
I just prefer like the Game of Thrones type of death, like Ramsay's death, but like, you know.
Spoilers if you haven't seen that. Go watch Game of Thrones. Stop what you're doing.
If you haven't,
it's so good.
What are you doing?
Watch it all in one night. That's what my buddy told me to do.
Do it.
Do it. But yeah, I thought that was a very Very good scene. It was very satisfying. It was good getting to hear all of the Jedi speak to her. It was embodying all that power and her exerting her force power to redirect all that lightning back. It was very, very rewarding to see.
And I think it was like 20 Jedi that were like recorded for it or something like that. It was
and they brought back Ahsoka. They brought back Ahsoka. Yeah,
that
was so cool. Yeah, I love it.
So cool. So cool. Like they brought those. Yeah.
It was so cool. What a nice nod. You know what I mean? It is a love letter.
Yeah.
Full circle, man.
Yeah, full circle.
And then our last point. I just thought that it was very cool to see her own custom lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not you think it's orange, whether or not you think it's yellow, I saw a thing that says that the Jedi Fallen Order had the orange lightsaber as a pre-release thing because it was like a little Easter egg without people knowing to the Rise of Skywalker. You could say it's yellow, but I think that orange describes her the best. So whether or not you saw it as yellow or whether or not you saw it as orange, orange canonically means somebody. It's kind of like purple, somebody who uses and understands the dark side of the Force, but uses it in the light. You know, it's an understanding, and that's why because it's a mix between that lighter color and then red. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a in between. It's a kind of thing. But I mean, if it's yellow, I mean, canonically, that also is cool and everything like that. So I think the most important thing is that her building it out of her staff and understanding where she came from and acknowledging who she is and then choosing who she ends up wanting to be is good for her character arc because she was so worried about not being anyone. She was so worried about what her name was. She chooses her own name, and that's poetic in a way.
Yeah, it was
that lightsaber is poetic.
It was kind of almost saying also like you kind of choose your own destiny. Like, like you're not locked into like your father's dreams, your mother's dreams, your parents' dreams, like
or grandparents.
In this case, overlord grandparents. Like it's very. It was kind of cool to see that kind of thing happen. Yeah, like saying it was good, but. I actually have been seeing a lot of gaming and Star Wars outlets call it golden now.
Yeah, that's fair.
They're like the golden saber, and then people are like yellow, orange, yellow. It's white.
To me, and it looks more orange from what my point of view looked like on my theater screen.
Yeah.
Until they come out right and say what color it is, we're just going to have to, interpret it the way we want. And honestly, it doesn't really matter what color it is, ultimately. It's just cool that we saw a color that's not normally seen in the movies,
Yeah.
Something that we wanted to talk about super quickly, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because we don't want to drag down, because we love the movie. We're not going to spend too much time on it. Something I wished was different was the pacing. Mm-hmm. It felt like they were apologizing for Last Jedi, and...
It was so fast.
It was so fast-paced.
Man.
I personally didn't mind The Last Jedi. I thought it was a good movie. So, I mean, you can discredit my opinion right now, hate me forever, and all that stuff because I liked it. That's fine. I don't care. If you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. I respect your opinion. I don't think they should have apologized for it. Star Wars is Star Wars. And whether or not you agree with everything, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
Half the people that say that they didn't like it probably could not rewrite it better, Yeah. That's just my opinion. And I'm not trying to discredit anyone or anything like that. I'm just saying this shouldn't have been an apology,
I'm just glad they didn't do like a straight up like copy and paste route. Like it wasn't to me like I didn't think like, oh well now she's got to go do this. Well now she's got to go do this. I was like, oh they're going here now. Oh, where are they now?
I agree with that 100%. Yeah, It wasn't copy and pasted. But the pacing should have been a little bit slower. They honestly, I feel like they felt like they had to apologize for The Last Jedi, and I don't think it was necessary. That's just my opinion. You can disagree with me all you want, though. Feel free. Let me know what you think on Spotted Gaming on Instagram.
Yeah, I think that like, it might not have been as much as apologetic as much as like trying to make up for the loss of Carrie Fisher, you know, because
that too.
That's a lot. They did a lot to make sure like everything worked as well as it did with the scenes they had with her. But I do agree that they were a little apologetic with it. I was like, I mean, that was a good movie. I mean, like, I enjoyed it. I've watched it. I can't count how many times I've watched it so far. You know,
I've seen it like 4 times. Another thing I thought that could have been better was I wanted more time with the Emperor. It felt like he was barely there, and I wanted a lightsaber fight. You know?
Yeah. Actually, in the original, what they were supposed to originally do, there was supposed to be a lightsaber fight with him and Rey and Ben.
That would have been amazing.
For those Doctor Who fans out there, Matt Smith was supposed to be in it as well. It just didn't happen. I think also it had to do with, like, you know, budget stuff and you know,
the reasoning that they had it was so rushed and everything is because they kept it shorter. They wanted more showings at movie theaters. They didn't want an end game kind of situation where it was like 3 hours long. But I don't think that would have been a bad thing.
No.
Okay, moving on from there. Overall opinions. It was a really good movie. Yeah. You know, it's exciting to see what this means. They're shutting off the whole idea of the Skywalker Saga and stuff like that. So this opens up a giant possibility of what we could possibly see in the future. You know what I mean?
Oh, and I'm excited.
We have podcast plans that include what we think the future of Star Wars will be. So make sure you check that out. We're going to be seeing more and more of really cool things that we have liked, and we want to see things that are, you know, different and not just the same kind of formula. You know, they're getting rid of the trilogy is what a lot of the hearsay is, and I don't mind that. You know, it opens up to the idea of being like an MCU kind of thing. You know,
yeah,
they could do a Star Wars kind of universe. So
yeah,
I don't know.
And
SWU.
Well, there was talk about. There's been already talk about the next segment. We're not going to talk about that just yet.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about that for a different time.
Yeah,
but, yeah, it's. I agree.
Just wanted to give that.
It was a good movie.
Absolutely.
I agree. Like, I couldn't have written it better, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, I enjoyed it. It was Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I love Star Wars. It's unconditional love from me. And then there's hearsay about a director's cut rumor. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that comes to fruition. We're not reporting on more of that because it's just a rumor.
Yeah.
So, keep your ears peeled.
We can hope.
Yeah, hope and dreams. But yeah, that's basically what we thought about The Rise of Skywalker. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know. There are multiple outlets you can find us on. Feel free to subscribe to both Tyler the Gray on YouTube and Fusro Dab on YouTube. You can find both of us there. Don't just go one, go both, because 2 is better than 1. 2 is better than 1. Do you agree, Tyler?
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
The next thing we want to throw out there for you guys too is, don't forget, we've said this multiple times, Spotto Gaming on Instagram. Everything we do, you can find it there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Am I right, Tyler?
It's truly a sight to behold.
It's a community. It's a community. You know.
It's a community.
Do you want to be part of our gaming community? You can be a part of it. Mm-hmm. I think that it would be pretty awesome to have more people. If you like what you hear too, I mean, you know, we're going to be having some exclusive, like, behind the scenes things on there soon too. So, you know, maybe if the podcast is what you're really into, maybe follow it just for news on that. Who knows? Last time we also mentioned too that we have a Patreon. Feel free to head over to patreon.com/SpottoGaming. It's spelled exactly the same as Instagram, SPOTOGAMING. There's so many different things. They're based on Star Wars, by the way, the tiers, Padawan through Jedi Grandmaster. And if you want to support us monetarily, that'd be incredible. Like, obviously, it's optional.
Yes,
but you can head over there. Rewards include exclusive wallpapers, exclusive Q&A polls, behind-the-scenes series, exclusive live streams that are coming soon. and so much more. There's absolutely limitless possibilities over there, and none of the money
possibilities.
Unlimited possibilities. None of the money that's made there will go to directly to our pockets. We're giving it back to you guys by upgrading our equipment, buying games you want to see streamed, and things like that. Yeah. So it's not for us to become super rich on. It's us to give back to you guys, Yeah. So if that's something you're interested in, please do that. Don't feel obligated because we say that. Just give it a gander. How about that?
Yeah.
Man, Tyler, did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
All right, man. First of all, let me say thank you to Tyler, because this is something that's been a brainchild of mine for a while. Doing this is really fun, and I hope you guys enjoy this as much as we do. I know I tend to talk a lot and ramble, so feel free to stop me at any time in the future stuff, Tyler, because I get pretty passionate about this stuff. But it just proves that we care about what we're doing.
Yeah.
But without anything else, I think it's time for our final little bit. As always, I hope you guys have an incredible day or night, whatever you're listening to this as. But above all else, stay excellent to each other, and we'll see you on the next podcast.